snow had been falling for 6 hours straight when Maya Collins heard the soft knock on her garage door. At 25, she lived alone in the small house her grandmother had left her, and unexpected visitors on winter nights usually meant trouble. She grabbed the baseball bat she kept by the back door and stepped into the frigid air, her breath forming clouds in the darkness. "Hello," she called out, gripping the bat tightly as snowflakes swirled around her beige cable-knit sweater. A man stepped into the dim light cast by her porch lamp. He appeared to be in his early 30s with dark hair damp from snow and wearing a gray coat that had seen better days. His hands were raised in a peaceful gesture, and his expression held exhaustion rather than threat. "I am sorry to bother you," he said, his voice with cold. "I know how this looks, but I was wondering if I could sleep in your garage tonight. Just until morning. I will not cause any trouble." Maya kept the bat ready, studying his face in the falling snow. She had lived in this neighborhood for 3 years, since her grandmother's death, and she knew the stories about people who preyed on women living alone. "You need to leave," she said firmly. "There are shelters downtown that can help you." "The shelters are full," the man replied quietly. "I checked everyone in the city. I have been walking for hours, and I saw your garage light was on. I just need somewhere warm for a few hours." Maya looked at this stranger more carefully. Despite his worn coat and obvious exhaustion, there was something in his manner that did not suggest danger. His posture was respectful. His voice was gentle, and his eyes held the kind of weariness that came from genuine hardship rather than predatory intent. "What is your name?" she asked, not lowering the bat but softening her tone slightly. "David," he replied. "David Sterling, and I know you have no reason to trust me, but I promise I am not here to hurt anyone. I just need to get out of this storm." Maya felt torn between her safety instincts and her grandmother's voice echoing in her memory. When someone needs help and you can provide it, you find a way. "You can sleep in the garage," she said finally, "but I am keeping this bat, and if you try anything, I will use it." "Thank you," David said, and the relief in his voice was unmistakable. "I cannot tell you how much this means to me." Maya led him to the detached garage, which was clean and organized but unheated. She brought him an old sleeping bag, a pillow, and a thermos of hot coffee. "There is a bathroom through that door," she said, pointing to the connecting entrance to her house. "But do not go anywhere else or I will call the police." "Understood," David replied. "Thank you for your kindness." Maya returned to her house, double-checked all her locks, and spent a restless night wondering if she had made a terrible mistake or the right choice. The next morning, she found David folding the sleeping bag neatly and cleaning up any trace of his presence in the garage. "How did you sleep?" Mir asked, still keeping her distance but feeling less threatened in the daylight. "Better than I have in weeks," David admitted. "Your garage stayed warm enough, and having a roof over my head made all the difference." "Where will you go now?" Maya asked, surprised to find herself concerned about his welfare. "I am not sure," David said. "Honestly, I'm trying to get to Chicago where I might have some job opportunities. But I lost my wallet yesterday, and my phone is dead. I have been traveling for 3 days, trying to figure out my next step." Maya studied David's face in the morning light. He looked tired but clean, desperate but not dangerous. Against her better judgment, she found herself wanting to help. "There is a diner about 2 miles from here that serves breakfast," she said. "If you want to walk there with me, I can buy you a meal before you continue your journey." "I could not ask you to do that," David protested. "You are not asking," Mia replied. "I am offering." An hour later, they sat across from each other in a booth at Murphy's Diner, where David ate scrambled eggs and toast with a careful appreciation of someone who had not had a proper meal in days. "Can I ask what happened to you?" Mia said gently. "How you do not seem like someone who has been homeless for long." David was quiet for a moment, then looked at Mia with an expression of vulnerability and shame. "6 months ago, I was a successful software developer living in San Francisco," he said slowly. "I had a good job, a nice apartment, everything that looked like success from the outside." "What changed?" Maya asked. "I had a breakdown," David admitted. "The pressure, the long hours, the constant stress finally caught up with me. I started having panic attacks. Could not sleep, could not concentrate. I lost my job, then my apartment, then my confidence." Mia listened without judgment, as David explained how his mental health struggles had led to a downward spiral that cost him everything he had built. "I decided to start over somewhere new," David continued. "I sold what little I had left and started driving toward Chicago, where I have a college friend who said he might be able to help me get back on my feet." "And then you lost your wallet," Mia said. "And then I lost my wallet," David confirmed with a rueful smile, "along with my cash, my credit cards, and my identification. I have been trying to figure out how to contact my friend without a phone, or how to get to Chicago without money." Maya felt her heart go out to this man who had been brave enough to ask for help and honest enough to share his story. "David," she said carefully, "what if I told you that my friend works at a tech company here in town? They are always looking for experienced developers, and they have a very progressive approach to mental health support." David looked at her with hope mixed with disbelief. "You would be willing to make an introduction?" "More than that," Maya said, making a decision that surprised her. "You can stay in my guest room until you get back on your feet." But she added quickly, "There will be rules and boundaries, and you will need to contribute to household expenses once you start earning money." "Maya, why would you do that for a complete stranger?" David asked. "Because my grandmother always said that sometimes angels come disguised as people who need help," Mia replied. "And because everyone deserves a chance to rebuild their life." 3 months later, David had secured a position as a senior developer at Innovate Tech Solutions and was renting the apartment above Mia's garage. What neither of them had anticipated was how naturally their temporary arrangement had evolved into genuine friendship and eventually something deeper. "You know," David said one evening as they shared dinner in Ma's kitchen, "there is something I need to tell you about my situation." Mia looked up from her pasta with curiosity. "When I had my breakdown and lost everything, I was not entirely honest about my financial situation." David continued, "I did lose my job and my apartment, but I had significant savings and investments that I never touched." "What do you mean?" Maya asked. "I mean, I could have afforded hotels and restaurants during my journey to start over," David explained. "But I wanted to experience what it was like to have nothing, to rely on the kindness of others, to rebuild from the ground up without using money as a safety net." Maya stared at him. "You chose to be homeless. I chose to learn what it felt like to truly need help," David corrected. "And Maya, what I learned was that the kindness you showed me had nothing to do with money and everything to do with character." "Are you telling me you are wealthy?" Maya asked, still processing this revelation. "I am telling you that I have enough money to be comfortable, but that what you gave me was worth more than anything I ever earned." David replied, "You saw someone in need and chose compassion over caution. That taught me more about resilience and human goodness than any amount of success ever could." Maya was quiet for a long moment. "David, are you saying our entire relationship has been based on a lie?" "I am saying our relationship is based on the fact that you chose to help someone when you thought they had nothing to offer in return," David said. "Seriously, that tells me everything I need to know about who you are." 6 months later, as David and Mia announced their engagement in the same garage where he had spent his first night. Mia reflected on how one decision made during a snowstorm had changed both their lives. "Do you think you would have helped me if you had known I had money?" David asked as they looked at the space that had brought them together. "I think I would have been more suspicious of your motives," Mia admitted. "But David, I fell in love with a man who was humble enough to ask for help and grateful enough to rebuild his life with purpose. And I fell in love with a woman who was brave enough to trust a stranger and kind enough to change his life," David replied. As snow began to fall again outside the garage where their story had begun, Maya realized that sometimes the most important risks we take are not about money or success, but about choosing to see the humanity in others when they need us most.